What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of It's Called Football on Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. I'm Jerry Walker, and alongside me, as always, is Jackson Fyda. Jackson, on this Thursday afternoon, before we get into the rather uneventful Premier League weekend this past week, the matches are looking so this week. A couple big ones that we'll definitely go in depth with. But how are you doing this Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, kind of like you said, it's kind of a dull week to be talking about the Prem. Like, we'll obviously have the big game to talk about from last week, but apart from that, a tad disappointing, but nonetheless, it's good to be here and we're going to do what we do best, talk about some footy.
Exactly. I mean, we also had, as we were discussing earlier, we had Europa League this week. We had the Caribou Cup third round as well, but those weren't exactly exciting as far as Premier League teams go, and even just some of the matches in general. There were some good ones in the Europa League. I'll say AZ Alkmaar and Elfsborg played to 3-2. Porto lost to Bodø/Glimt, who is a Norwegian club. They lost 3-2, so that's kind of a surprise. The only Premier League teams who played was Man U drew 1-1, and Tottenham's playing as we speak at the moment, or supposed to be playing as we speak
20
at the moment.
minutes, I think, they kick off.
Yeah. Then as far as the Caribou Cup or EFL Cup or whatever you call it, third round was this week. Just quick touch on that. Liverpool Arsenal win 5-1 over West Ham and Bolton respectively. Makes sense. Chelsea beat the hell out of Barrow, who is a fourth division team.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they're League Two. They beat them 5-0. Not a surprise. I guess the only news there is Raheem Sterling got a goal for Arsenal. His first is a red.
Yeri had a game.
So there's that. Man City beat Watford 2-1, but it was a weird Man City team, and that's about all there is to write. So did a little bit more of a tangent on that. Was there anything you really feel like mentioning from the midweek stuff, or?
Not really. Arsenal had a 16-year-old keeper playing. That was kind of cool, but apart from that, pretty par for the course. Pretty much what you would expect with the matchups. A few were closer than you would have thought. Wickham only lost 2-1 at home to Aston Villa, so they did pretty well. Coventry did well against Tottenham, and Walsall took Leicester to penalties, but there were no upsets. There was no team that really shocked anyone that they needed to. Still hope. October 1st, Newcastle is playing AFC Wimbledon. I don't expect that to go any kind of way that as a neutral you'd like to see, but yeah, pretty par for the course with the Carabao Cup games. I mean, literally no upsets.
I mean, the most upsetting thing was Wimbledon's field having a 15-foot sinkhole is why they had to postpone it because of all the rain there. So issues outside, or I guess on the pitch, but outside of the actual match itself. Yeah. Anyway, that brings us to what we talk about here. This is a Premier League show. We will do obviously specials on other stuff and all that, but general part, if you've never watched before, this is a Premier League show, and we'll kick it off with the big match from last week. Man City and Arsenal. I know I'm certain you have some words to say about certain calls and whatnot in this, but before we hop into that, it's just 9 minutes in. You can't be giving up a goal to Haaland like that. And the way we've seen Man City start so far, they're always on the back foot. So seeing them come out early is a scary sight. Arsenal takes a 2-1 lead through Calafiori and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Those were solid goals as well. But then there's a little chaos at the very end. Last kicks of the game, John Stones puts it in, and we'll touch more on that chaos as we go. But as the Arsenal fan here, what did you think of this match and the Arsenal's performance and all the controversy, apparently?
At the end of the day, taking everything away, just forget about what happened during the game, what the score was, when the goals were, when the red card happened, all that stuff. A 2-2 draw away at City without Odegaard is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You take that every single day of the week. So you can't really be too upset with it. But man, it was right there, Obviously, Erling Haaland gets that early goal, and we talked about it. The key for Arsenal winning was to keep Erling Haaland off the score sheet. We've seen Gabriel and Saliba do that before when they played last season. took him less than 10 minutes to get on the score sheet. So at that point, you're like, it's gonna be a long day. But the rest of the first half, Arsenal got the chances and they took advantage. Calafiore, unbelievable goal. His first Premier League start, and he goes and he does that. It's unreal. On his left foot, curling away. I mean, that right there, there aren't even really words you can really use to describe that feeling, like watching a goal like that go in for your team. It was absolutely unreal. And then the Gabriel set piece, man, what a corner kick routine. And then phenomenal for him to get there and get that goal. And then the red card. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm tired of seeing these red cards coming Arsenal's way. It's happened twice now where it's just changed the dynamic. And at the end of the day, like, defended really, really well. You got to be proud of it. And it took till the 98th minute, a crazy deflection off Declan Rice that just laid it on a platter for John Stones to basically just tap it in. You got to be proud of it, though. At the end of the day, take everything away. The fact that Arsenal was winning, looked like they were going to get that big win. Didn't happen, but again, 2-2 on the road. You get a red card in the first half. You're missing your star player. I'll take that. I really will. I'll take that. Obviously, very disappointed in the moment, very frustrated, but you'll take a 2-2 draw on the road for sure.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Especially because it's such a hard place to win, and it's such an important match for Arsenal to get points against Man City, as they want to be. If you want to win the title, you have to get at least some points against Man City at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool did it the year they won it. Arsenal did it last year when they looked like they were going to win it. Because at the end of the day, Man City is still the best team.
Yeah.
They are going to be without Rodri for the rest of the season, but that's a massive, massive, massive loss, in my opinion. But
it's a huge loss. And we saw what happened last season when they didn't have him. The levels dropped so much because he's that influential of a player.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of what changed, because the first 20 minutes were all Man City.
Mm-hmm.
We had the ball for a bit, but nothing really crazy. And then it was when Rodri got hurt and had to be subbed off and replaced by Kovacic. Less than a minute later, Arsenal gets on the score sheet and equals it up. Then right before the end of the first half, they get the second one, as you were saying. So it seemed like Man City didn't quite figure out or didn't adjust to not having Rodri for that first half. Then the red card came, and Pep gets 15 minutes to talk how, okay, now we might be without him, but we're playing against 10 men, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Get them into a good place. And sure enough, it was the guy we all expected to score the winner.
Always, right?
Off the bench, super sub, John Stones. And what a crap goal it was. The ball was just bouncing around the box, pokes it home. I did like the shithousery from Holland throwing it off the back of Gabriel's head.
He was, after the game, too.
Holland was on one.
He was, I don't know, bro. It's a little crazy.
Because there was it him and Jesus were getting into it?
Well, it was first with Gabriel.
Okay.
And then Jesus, yeah. And then at the end of the game, he told Arteta to be humble, be humble. Oh, and yeah, he was talking with Jesus at that point. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know, dude. Like, it's annoying, but if one of my players was doing that, I think it's funny. I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I'm not gonna lie. So I can't even hate on it too much. Like, in the moment, like, screw this guy. But
I also think this is making it more of a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, it's your rivals because you're fighting for the same thing, but now we're getting to that intensity of they're clashing with each other. You always expect there to be cards and something chaotic going on when Arsenal and Man City play each other. And as a neutral who doesn't support either of these teams, I love it. This is what makes this match a blast. Obviously, great talent on the field, an important result one way or the other usually. And now I'm enjoying the sideshows that go on and the chaotic moments, because a lot of yellow cards. Obviously, the one red, but it was like 7 yellows. One of them ended up being a second, so a red. It's great stuff, in my opinion, from the neutral side of things. But end of the day, a well-deserved point for each side. Both of them have their chances to make it 3 points. Both of them kind of let it up a bit. So overall, I think this is a fair result. I don't know if you agree or not on that one, but
I mean, if you look at stats, obviously City should have won, but again, that's with the red card, which I mean, just throwing this out there, stop kicking the ball away.
yeah,
Just
it's such a stupid yellow card.
and like you can argue and say, oh, you shouldn't have gotten a second yellow for just kicking it away barely. And the Declan Rice one I still think was ridiculous. But in general, just never kick the ball away. We've seen that the refs are cracking down on it. It's happened twice now where Arsenal players have done this and it has affected the rest of the game. So stop doing it. At this point, just stop doing it. That was my main frustration with this game, because you're up 2-1 at that point. Things have turned Arsenal's way. Again, obviously, the Rodri injury obviously played a big part in it. But things are going Arsenal's way. You're up 2-1 heading into halftime, and you go and do something stupid.
And it's also not like it's in the middle of a half or early on in a half. It's in the 8th minute of stoppage time.
Mm-hmm. You're about to go into the locker room. And what are you wasting time for at that point?
And I'll say that was part of my issue with Arsenal in the second half was as soon as the second half started, players were flopping and trying to stall. And I get it. Especially late on in the half. It's part of the tactic. It's part of the strategy. You don't want to waste time and all that. But when you do something stupid like that, kicking the ball away, it's different than, oh, I'm flopped. I'm hurting. It's because at the end of the day, we've all done that if you've ever played the game. So
all the time.
Whatever advantage you can get, but kicking the ball away is just right before the whistle's probably going to go. It's just idiotic from Trossard, and now he'll be out for the next match against Leicester this weekend, which shouldn't need him, but
you always want everyone available, and it wasn't just for this next match; it's for the rest of that match. Just set us back.
Yeah, and that was the big loss.
And it's like at a certain point, she's got to be smart, man. Yeah, and hopefully everyone in the league, not just Arsenal players, but everyone in the league looks at this and says, all right, time to stop being idiots because they're cracking down on it. And sure, you could argue like you poke it away a little bit. It shouldn't be a card. I still think that. But we've seen that the precedent has been set where you're going to get a card for that, even if you're already on one. So just don't do it. It's really not that hard. That was my main frustration with this game because that completely changed the dynamic of how the second half could have gone. Suddenly, you're having to defend with 10 guys against a team that plays the best footy in the world. Sorry, Real Madrid. Man City still plays the best footy in the world. 100%.
Mbappe at the moment.
Yeah, 3 weeks. They got their own issues. But it's just frustrating to watch something like that, especially when Declan Rice was sent off for the same thing just a few games prior. That was my only frustration. But at the end of the day, you get a point on the road at Manchester City, and you're down a guy, and you don't have Odegaard. That's an unbelievable result. You got to be happy with that. Again, it sucks giving up the late goal. David Raya did everything physically possible to win that game for Arsenal, and it's just so unlucky that it hit Declan Rice like it did and fell right to stones. But that's the game, You got to take it. You got to be happy you got the point, and you move on and focus on the next one. And Arsenal's in a good place right now. I like that we're not leading the league because we've seen what happens when that happens. I just want to stay within that touching distance. If we're within touching distance, I feel confident, especially with the return leg of this 2-game series that we play with everyone. So the 2 games against City, the return game is at Arsenal. That's got 3 points when that one comes around. But a lot of time before that, and
when is that one? That's got to be March or April next year, I would assume.
It's down the line. Let's have a look. It's definitely it's February 1st.
Yeah,
February 1st. So not super late on, but that's the point of the season where things really start to kind of form. You can tell where people are going, where they're trending is in that March period. So February kind of sets that up, and then by March, you're like, we're heading the final sprint. We're in that final little stretch. So that could be a key moment if Arsenal can get those 3 points in that game. But again, good place to be right now.
Yeah, the team's looking at this result and being like, okay, we love this as a draw is Aston Villa and Liverpool. They were both the 5 teams, so half of the matches had a team score 3 or more or 3 goals. Those two were two of them. Liverpool won 3-0 against Bournemouth. Villa won 3-1 at home to Wolves. Other ones were Tottenham won 3-1 home to Brentford after giving up a goal in the first minute, and then Dominic Solanke got his first goal for Tottenham. So I know you loved seeing that happen. And then West Ham lost 3-0 to Chelsea, and the other one, which is the one we'll talk a little bit more on because it's kind of a surprise result, it's Fulham beating Newcastle at home 3-1. And that was a interesting game to say the least because it was 2-0, 22 minutes in. Raul Jimenez got the opener, and then Emil Smith-Rowe got the second before Harvey Barnes equalized it 1 minute in after the second half.
Or you brought it close. You brought it 2-1.
Oh, yeah, he brought one back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of this match and how? Because, I mean, I think we both predicted Newcastle were going to win last week.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well done, Fulham. I didn't see this one coming at all, And obviously Newcastle had more of the possession, but you kind of expect that heading into a game like this when you look at the lineups. But Fulham had more shots. Yeah. They created more than Newcastle did. They had more shots on target. They had more than 2 times the amount of shots on target that Newcastle did. So Newcastle had all this possession, right? They had all these passes. Pass accuracy was pretty high. I think it was about 90%. But at the end of the day, what matters is creating chances and scoring those chances. And that's what Fulham did. And they did it to devastating effect because you get that goal 5 minutes in, under 5 minutes in. You set yourselves up for the rest of the game. And then Emil Smith-Rowe got one. And then who got the last one? Reece Nelson at the very end got that goal. Yeah. It's a great result for Fulham. And it's the kind of result that I've been feeling that this Fulham team can really accomplish because they've got some good players. They've got a decent squad. Yeah. And it just really hasn't materialized through the first few games so far. We haven't really seen a lot from Fulham to make us really think that this is a team that could really push some of these bigger clubs. But this game, they're phenomenal. And Newcastle, they've looked really, really strong, but this was not the showing that they needed. Obviously, you lose 3-1, but you can't just go around passing the ball like they're doing, but not creating anything and expecting to go and win games like that. And I'm just going to say this, Isak has been disappointing for me so far this season. Mm-hmm. He has not looked dangerous going to goal. Now, he's still a very good player, keeps the ball pretty well, obviously really good at dribbling, but he just hasn't been that goal-scoring threat that he needs to be for this team, They need him to step up and start scoring those goals. Until that happens, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Newcastle yet. I think they'll be good. And obviously they can push for top 4, but they need Isak to step it up because he has been very disappointing, in my opinion, so far. Because at the end of the day, you want your striker to score. That's why they're there. They're there to score goals. He hasn't been doing that so far. I know he's got an assist here and there, but he's got to score more than he's done because right now it's just not been good enough.
I mean, last year he had 21 goals and was the 3rd highest scorer in the Premier League. Mm. I know it's only after 5 matches, but he only has 1 goal.
Yeah.
He was second on his team. So little disappointing there. And I will say Newcastle was a little unfortunate. They scored very early, but it was ruled off for offside. I think Joe Wilcock was the one who was offside, and then Fulham went down the other end. And this is what we're saying. With the class of players they have, you have Adama Traore, whose speed and strength got him down the wing, and he was able to get a cross in a row with Jimenez, who, even at Wolves, is obviously he has his whole head injuries and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But he is still he was a very good goal scorer. Mm-hmm. Mexican national team could really use someone like that.
Especially with Santi Jimenez hurt now.
Yeah. That's been something that we've talked about many times before, is having these kind of players go over and play for the Mexican team who are not actually getting their minutes for them. Mm-hmm. Solid one there. You have Emil Smith-Rowe who gets it done. I like the back line as well. Bassi looked good. Robinson, the other American international, he looked good. Bernd Leno has had his moments. He had to make a couple big saves, but yeah, and then Alex Iwobi. Fulham is not a bad team by any means.
They're not. They're really not.
They are the definition of I could beat you one day, and beat a top team like Newcastle, who's unbeaten, and I could lose to Leicester City the next. They are the definition of mid-table mediocrity in the Premier League at the moment. Someone has to be. So,
Yep.
Any other thoughts on this one?
I mean, the 3 points shot Fulham up into the top half of the table. So, at the very least, you're looking at that now and you're like, there we go, guys.
Yeah.
We just beat a really good team, and look at where we are now. Let's push on. I mean, great result for Fulham. And like you just said, they're a team that on any day they can look at it and be like, all right, we can compete with these guys. We can go out and beat these bigger clubs. And they've got the players to do that. Don't expect them to push for European spots, I think, towards the end of the year. But this Fulham team's good. They are good. They're very competent. They show that in this game. Very good attacking-wise. They've got some good attackers.
Yes, they do. And I'll just run through it. Man U, the opening day at Old Trafford, they were very unlucky to lose that one. But then they come out a few weeks later to draw with Ipswich. Then on the 17th, so the midweek before this Newcastle match, they lost on penalties to Preston North End. Then they come out, and that's a huge win, because if you come out after that disappointing loss, getting knocked out of a cup, and get battered again at home by a top team, confidence gets shot to pieces, and that definitely didn't happen, which is good to see for Fulham. So, Other matches that we're going to touch a little on. We did last week. We talked a lot about the relegation battle because there were two matches: Southampton hosting Ipswich, and then Leicester hosting Everton. Share of points in both those. Both matches finished 1-1. Not much shifting, but it's already seeming to be like you can tell these 4 or 5 teams are going to be in the relegation battle towards the end of the season, and then everyone else is just a step or two ahead.
Yeah, I mean, both those games were like pretty even too.
Yeah.
Like it felt pretty even. They looked pretty even. I love Ipswich, man. I love their fight that they have. They get that late goal. Gone 3 draws so far. Only 2 losses. It's not a bad start, you know?
And look at who those losses are against.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've had a decent start for a team that I thought was a surefire last place finisher.
Yeah.
They've had a decent start, and I think they've got the fight that you need if you want to stay up. I'm not saying that they will, because I think there is a huge disparity between their talent and the talent of all these other Premier League teams. But they've got that fight in them that might be enough if other teams around them, such as Everton, Southampton, Wolves, Palace, Leicester, those kinds of teams right now don't show up. I mean, maybe we could see a universe where this Ipswich team stays up. Because I haven't seen a lot from Southampton. Unfortunate for them. They're up 1-0. Pretty even game. They're at home. You give up the late goal. That's got to be crushing for them, because that was a chance to get a huge win. Whereas that's going to uplift Ipswich. So down for Southampton, up for Ipswich. And then I think I still like Leicester.
I do too.
They're going to be down there, but they've got the strong squad. But Everton, man, they got their first point, but just not enough from them, especially considering a lot of people had higher hopes for this Everton team this year to at least not be in the same spot where you're all the way down at the bottom and facing potential relegation, And they just, sure, they had more shots on target than Leicester, but it hasn't been good enough for a club that's been in the Premier League for so long. I feel like I feel gross watching them play. That's the only way I can describe it. Like Ipswich, you expect them to be bad, but then they go out and they have a spirit.
It's like Luton last year. They're probably going to lose, but they're going to make it entertaining and make it go down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They will get occasional points here and there. My biggest concern for all these teams is no one looked like they wanted to win the match.
They didn't want to lose, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to lose. And the bottom 6, Leicester, the 4 teams who played that we're talking about now, as well as Crystal Palace and Wolves, have all yet to win a match. There's 6 teams through 5 matches, and that's where playing them. We've talked about it before. This is where, when you're playing the other relegation sides, this is where you make your moves.
Mm-hmm.
These are the ones where you have to take risks. throw an extra man forward, try and get that winner, and instead it's, oh, let's just not lose this so we fall behind in it. It's not that we want to go and take it. So, little disappointed in that aspect, but hey, it's a relegation battle. It's not going to be pretty at all season. Moving on, is there anything else you want to touch on from this last weekend's action?
I mean, not really. I think we covered the main thing. Palace 0-0 with Man U. Man U looked disappointing. Great stuff from American Chris Richards back there.
Yep.
He had a very solid game, but yeah, Man U, man, they still just can't figure it out.
No, so funny. One of the good teams that we love to see fail at times. So, But speaking of Man U, this upcoming weekend they host Tottenham, and that is our match of the week. What are you expecting from this one? Tottenham and Man U currently sit 10th and 11th in the table, with Tottenham being ahead on by 4 goals better, by having a 4-goal difference better. Yeah.
I mean, Tottenham has been pretty disappointing so far this season because, I mean, we saw them last season before all the injuries, how good they were. And they've got all these good players and they've got a really good manager. And they didn't have a great start to the season. Now, coming off that 3-1 victory against Brentford, and they'll also be coming off, for them, hopefully a win coming up later today. I mean, they need that for momentum purposes. And Man U just hasn't looked very good either. I'm going to back Tottenham in this because I think that at the end of the day, they're the better team. I think they've got a better manager, and I think he's going to have him more prepared to go in and get all 3 points than Manchester United will be. Now, the big difference is Man U's going to have a little bit extra rest because Tottenham's obviously going to be playing today. Man U played prior. They played yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. So they have that slight advantage, plus they're at home. So definitely a situation where Man U could get the points. And if you're looking at it from a Manchester United perspective, this is a great opportunity. You know, haven't had the start that you've wanted to the season. Things look pretty rough. But you're at home against a big team. You got 1 extra rest day than they have. You got to be looking at this, with, wide eyes. Like, oh, we can go and do this. We can go get all 3 points. By the end of the day, I just don't have confidence in them. I don't have confidence in the Man U team right now. I don't have confidence in the attack. The defense still seems shaky to me. I do have confidence that James Maddison can produce. I have confidence that Son can produce when called upon. And we've seen Solanke. We know he can score goals.
Yes.
So I'm going to back Tottenham. I'm going to go 2-0. I think they get a 2-0 win. I think it's a pretty even-ish game, but I think Tottenham's going to be the one who takes advantage in those key critical moments, and they get 2 goals because of it and take all 3 points.
Okay. I'm going to take Tottenham because of morals, but I think Man U has been so bad the last 2 matches that something has to switch up for them. And I mean, hey, they were at home in the Europa League, up 1-0, gave up a 68th minute equalizer to French side Twant. Drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace, as you said, over the weekend, and it's just been disappointing all season long. Joshua Zirkzee, he looks good. The youth looks better than I expected them to, but that's the issue. Is they look good. I do not trust that back line one bit.
No.
Now that Rafael Varane's retired, but like Diogo Dalot, Lautaro Martinez, De Ligt, Harry Maguire, Mazzori, that screams very meh.
Yeah.
To me, and Onana hasn't looked as good either this year. He's made some more mistakes, so things could go well for Man U, but I do like that shout of Tottenham winning. I'm going to take them 1-0 because I think it'll be a very scrappy game, and Tottenham's back line alone has struggled at points this season, but it's also just the teams they've played against.
Yeah.
Losing 2-1 at Newcastle, hard to blame them. Lost 1-0 against Arsenal, hard to blame them.
Especially because they were good that game.
Yeah. But I think it'll be a very interesting match, and kind of curious to see what happens from today because I don't know why their match has been delayed. I don't know if it's pitch related or what it is. I actually haven't seen anything about it.
I haven't seen anything either, to be completely honest.
But it's the way that they looked this weekend. And I know it's only Brentford, but that's also some concern, is giving up a goal 1 minute in or less than a minute in. I don't think Lightning strikes twice because they were able to bounce back quickly, but I think Tottenham will get a goal early on. And that back line of Romero, Perigoporo, Van de Ven, and Udogi will be able to shut it down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Next match to talk about on the slate is the first match of the weekend, the 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Saturday. Some people call it Newcastle Man City. Others call it the Oil Rig Derby. Who are you thinking? What are you expecting in this? Because obviously, as you said earlier, Man City does not have Rodri, and that is a huge loss.
Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing that you can look at as where this team could have weakness. Because Erling Haaland right now is in unbelievable form. Everything's looks so good, but then you lose your key guy who's sitting in front of your back line where he can make tackles and he can also contribute to the attack. We know how vital Rodri is. He's not going to be there. But I think in this game, they're still going to be okay. You know? I just don't think Newcastle will get it done. And I hate it because I feel like whenever I see Newcastle City, I just get those Alan St. Maximin flashbacks when he was absolutely cooking them. So I get this little sense of hope, like, oh, Newcastle could go and beat him. And I don't know why that is, because Newcastle has won just one of their last 33 Premier League games against Manchester City. Isn't that a crazy stat?
You've only won one?
Yeah. And that was in 2019.
I was going to say, how many years is 33 matches against them?
Especially considering they were relegated for a bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because that's what, 16. Yeah, that's a little over 16 seasons without beating them once.
Yeah, 5 draws, 27 losses in that time period, and then that one victory. So you got to bag. I got to bag history here, especially with how strong City's been looking. I think Haaland gets himself a goal. Again, we talked about it earlier. Newcastle, Harvey Barnes has been playing really well. He's in great form right now. I like the look of him, and obviously Anthony Gordon has the potential at any point to cause mayhem with his speed and his route one kind of mentality when he just runs at you.
Oh, yeah.
Isak hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked good enough for me. And again, City's back line has been leaking goals. I know they got the draw, but they did give up 2 against Arsenal, one of which was a set-piece goal. The other one, you can't really do much about the Calafiori one, to be completely honest. You could step up.
That was just a hell of a goal.
I mean, that's just one of those. You got to put your hands up and say, all right, that's outrageous. But the set-piece goal can't happen. So there is that hope again where City's back line hasn't looked as solid as they have previously. So maybe you can nick a goal, but with Isak not in form, you got to back City. I'm going to back them 2-0 in this one as well. I think Haaland gets a goal, and I think they get a goal from somewhere else as well. Newcastle looks dangerous in moments, but at the end of the day, City's a better team, and they'll go and get all 3 points.
Oh, I'm with you. I think it'll be at least 2-0. And I can see Newcastle getting a goal. So maybe it's 3-1 or something. I think they win by 2 goals one way or another, but it's like, you look at it this season. They've given up a goal in all but one Premier League match, and that was the opener against Chelsea. But every time they conceded a goal outside of the Arsenal game, they conceded within the first 20 minutes. In the Brentford game, Brentford game was the first minute. Ipswich was about 7 minutes in, and West Ham, they did go up first and then conceded right shortly after. But the other two, they bounce right back. They don't miss a beat. So it's sure you might get a goal, but are you going to be able to stop Haaland and company coming right down the other way and getting one back? And I don't think Newcastle can do it. I don't trust their defensive back line enough. Fabian Schär has had his ups and downs with his red card. Dan Burn, so Kieran Trippier, not the same player he has been. And I will say Nick Pope's been a little disappointing so far this year. Otherwise, I don't have much else on this. I think Man City is still the best team in the Premier League, if not, as you said, the best team in the world. I expect them to win, and I think it'll be a comfortable statement to say, okay, it's the Arsenal game. Don't get carried away that we drop points.
Mm-hmm.
Next match up that we are kind of looking at a little more in depth in will be Chelsea and Brighton. I don't know about this one. This seems like a trap game for both teams. It seems like Brighton's been the better team so far in the Premier League season, but I don't know if I trust them in this one.
No.
You can't trust. Well, Chelsea's as a point lead over them. I just don't trust Chelsea either. They're really good one game, really bad for a couple games, and then it's the back and forth of oh god. So they were lucky to beat West Ham, lucky to beat Bournemouth,
Yeah, lucky to beat Bournemouth.
with Palace, lost their other match before that against Savant. What are you expecting from this one?
I will say Nicholas Jackson's stock has risen astronomically. He is playing so well right now. And I think that might be the difference. Whether he scores or not, you actually have to take him seriously now. Dude's shown that he can score goals, you know? And I mean, he goes on and has a great year this year. It really shouldn't be that big a surprise because for most players, when you move to the Premier League, you need that transition year because it is a completely different league, different style, different media attention, different climate. Like everything about it is different than coming from Spain, coming from all these other places that these guys come from, like Nicholas Jackson did. So it does take an adjustment period. So if he keeps his form up, I really wouldn't be that surprised. But yeah, you got to take him seriously now because he's banging in goals. And I think that'll be a huge difference maker in this one. And sure, Chelsea's ahead right now. But again, I do think Brighton's looked like a more solid, more cohesive unit throughout the season. You know, haven't lost a game yet. Sure, they've only won 2 games. They've drawn 3 of them, but they haven't lost a game. There's something to be said about that. Yeah, this one's tough. It really is. I'm going to back Chelsea.
I mean, I want to take Brighton, and Brighton's showing some good signs at times, but it is that point. It's Nicholas Jackson looks to be getting more and more comfortable. Cole Palmer, second in the league in assists.
Yeah.
But Brighton's looked like they've looked good, but they haven't played anyone that great outside of Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
You're meant to beat Everton. Man, you can always beat.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have drawn with Ipswich. Shouldn't have drawn with Nottingham Forest. So it's like, I don't know if they're as good as we want to give them credit for. So I am going to take Chelsea. I think it's going to be 2-1, but I could also see this be a very, very dire, like 1-1, 0-0 draw, where neither team really gets much going, and some good play by goalkeepers here and there. But I don't know. I just feel like the only thing I'm certain of is a blue team will win this game.
There you go.
But with that being said, I think it'll be the home blue team in Chelsea.
Yeah, I'm taking the same score line as you, 2-1, and I think this game will have chances.
Oh yeah,
a lot that aren't finished. You know, because both these teams have guys who like to attack and they're dangerous when they attack. I just don't really feel like you're going to see a whole lot of goal scoring. You know, but I do think Chelsea will get 2 goals. I don't know if Nicholas Jackson gets one or not. I'm not going to make that claim because I don't know what kind of player he is just yet.
Hammer it, Nicholas Jackson.
There you go. But yeah, I like the 2-1 score line because I think both these teams do get on the score sheet. And if one's more likely to win the other, you got to take the team that is playing all right now. Chelsea's doing better than I thought they'd be doing under Enzo Maresca. Again, still, you see, like you said, we don't know what Chelsea team will show up depending on the game, but it's not as bad as it was at the start of last season. So I think step in the right direction. I still think if Pacho's there, they'd be cooking right now. Like, glad he's with the U.S. Can't wait to see who we call up. Really glad they made that decision. You know, I'm just going to say this. So grateful for Chelsea right now. They gave us Emma Hayes and Mauricio Pochettino. Freaking love you guys. But
if only Barrow had won, though.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would have been awesome. We'll take what we got though.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, going back, Chelsea's they're looking all right now. They really are. Nicholas Jackson doing his thing. Cole Palmer's doing his thing. You gotta back them in this game. But again, I could see anything happening because I do think these teams are pretty even. And like you said, we may be giving Brighton a little bit too much respect, but that's all we have to base it on right now is the results that we've seen. You can't base it on anything else. So I could see it going either way, but I feel like it's more likely Chelsea wins, and I think both teams score. I like your shout 2-1.
There we have it, folks. Those are the matches we will be going in depth in. Jackson, was there anything else you want to touch on before we hop into our just kind of general predictions and brief previews of the other 7 matches this weekend?
Let's hop into the predictions. Best part of it right here.
Oh, yeah. It's always a good time because you never know who we're actually going to pick. And sometimes it's a great pick. Sometimes it's terrible. Starting with Arsenal and Leicester City at the Emirates. Are you concerned?
Not really, to be completely honest. I feel pretty confident about this one. We're in good form. Leicester's got some threat in the attack, but I back our back line against anybody. To be completely honest, I think our back line is so solid right now. And when you got Calafiori coming off the bench doing what he did that game, it's so solid across the board. I've got no fears. I think we win. I think we win pretty comfortably. I'm going to go 3-0.
Okay. I like the shout. I'm going 2-0 Arsenal for the same reasons. I think Leicester's really not a very good team. I think they're good enough to stay up this season, but not to compete with the likes of Arsenal, who has championship aspirations and show that they can play with the best in the league last weekend. Will Odegaard be back? No, he's out for a few.
He's out for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to see him for a bit.
Declan Rice is back, and now Trossard's out. So I'm hoping to see Raheem Sterling get the start behind Trossard.
Martinelli hasn't been impressive.
No, he hasn't.
So
we shall see. Brentford, West Ham, 2 London-based teams going at it. I'm taking the Hammers. I think West Ham's got the better players, had the better. I know it's been a while since the transfer window closed, but they have the better transfer window. I just think they're the better team all around, and I have them winning 2-1.
I'm going to go West Ham too, but I'm not confident about this at all. I still want to see more from West Ham. And historically speaking, Brentford have won 4 of their last 5 home league games against West Ham. So history backs Brentford, but I do think West Ham's better across the board. I think they've still got a pretty solid team. I think they need to figure things out. They're still not quite gelled to the point that they need to be. But I think they'll get there, and I think this is one of those games along that route. And, yeah, I think they'll win. I'm going to go 2-1, but I think it could be a solid game.
All right. Again, I like that. Like the call. Everton and Crystal Palace in the Merseyside.
Yeah.
Who do you got on this one?
Oh, this game's gross. This one screeches 1-1 or 0-0. I don't know which one it'll be. It's either 1-1 or 0-0, but nothing else. Just to make it spicy because I want goals, I'm going to say 1-1, but I think this game is pretty diabolically bad. Maybe a set piece here, set piece there. I think it's pretty bad across the board. 1-1.
I think it'll be very dire for the first 85 minutes. And then something is going to happen for Everton, and they're going to find a way to get 3 points here. It's going to be a set piece of some sort that just takes a weird deflection and finds its way into the back of the net. Very specific prediction, but in the long run, I think I'm going to take Everton 1-0.
All right.
But I could very well see this being a dire 0-0 match.
Oh, yeah. It's got it written all over it.
Nottingham Forest and Fulham. Fulham just had a great result against Newcastle. Forest drew with, I do not remember off the top of my head, drew with Brighton. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going to give Forest their flowers. They haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
2 wins and 3 draws. They have yet to lose a game, and they're ahead of Fulham in the table. And again, you could sit here and say, well, they haven't really played anyone that crazy except for Liverpool, who they beat. I'm gonna give this game a draw. I don't think Forest loses their first game at home to Fulham. But I don't think Fulham loses either because I think Fulham's riding high off that Newcastle game. I'm gonna go 1-1 in this one as well because I just can't really see a winner. I think if there is going to be a winner, it's more likely to be from Fulham because I think they got the better squad. But Forest has yet to lose, and they're at home. I'm going to give them the credit that they deserve at this point and say 1-1. And I could very easily see either side winning, but I think 1-1 is a good prediction in my mind.
I do very well think this could be a draw. I always like picking a draw at some point on the show, and
Mm.
I was thinking of doing it for this one, but something about it in my gut is screaming Fulham just came off this massive win. They're going to somehow lose this game on the road at Nottingham Forest, a game they shouldn't lose necessarily. It just has that gut feeling. So I'm taking Forest. I think I'm going to go 1-0. No means confident on the score, but for some reason, I just have that feeling Forest is going to get it done.
Yeah. Hey, and again, shout out Forest, man. You guys have been so good this year when no one thought you would be. So fair play to the start.
These other two, the last game on Saturday, September 28th, noon 30 kickoff Eastern time. Wolves hosting Liverpool. Give me Liverpool and give me Liverpool by like 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3-0. Wolves has been so bad this season. Liverpool has been so good in every game except one. I
And
think
that's the last time. That's the last time on this show we said, "Oh, Liverpool, so good, they're going to run away with it."
that's true.
I'm not even
That is
worried.
true.
3 or 4 goals, and then they lose to Bournemouth. So I'm with you though. I'm taking Liverpool. I'm taking Liverpool 4-1. I think they win very, very easily. And Ipswich and Aston Villa. I want to see Ipswich get a win, but I don't think it's here.
No, I don't either. I think Villa gets all 3 points. I do think Ipswich gets a goal in a weird way, but I think it'll be 3-1 Villa. I think Ipswich's defense has actually looked pretty solid for
Agreed.
the promoted side, but I think they leak a few in this one. Watkins is finally scoring. Duran is unbelievable off the bench. It's just that kind of 1-2 punch where you deal with this one dude for about 60 to 70 minutes, and then you bring on a dude who can just bang in goals off the bench. It's so hard to play against. And I think that's where Villa might get at least one, but more than that. I think they'll get 2 goals later on in the game. I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay. Don't hate that shout at all. I think Aston Villa does win easily. I'm going 2-0. I don't think Ipswich's attack puts up much of a fight against them. I think it's rather 2 early goals, and Aston Villa kind of sits back and just shuts them out, possesses the ball, and I think they'll probably have like 65% possession by the end of it. Final game just to touch on, and this is my draw. I found the one that I think is going to be a draw this week, and it's got to be Bournemouth and Southampton. If I'm going to take someone, it's Bournemouth because Southampton's been so bad. But this just seems like it's got a draw written all over it. Combined through all competitions, these teams have 3 wins in their last 10 total matches. A lot of losses, couple draws. I think it'll be another draw.
I'm going to back Bournemouth in this one. But it's not like a very confident backing. I do think they're better, got the better team, and they're at home. Historically, I think this matchup favors Southampton, but there was also a period where Southampton was actually pretty solid in the Premier League. Bournemouth is kind of that newly promoted team that go down and back up, So roles have kind of reversed recently, so I'm not going to really buy into that. And I'm going to say Bournemouth wins. I'm going to go 2-0, but I think it's close. I think they get 2 goals, but that doesn't really reflect how the game was in terms of how close it is.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go 2-0. Again, I'm always going to bet against Southampton right now. They've done nothing. They and Wolves and Everton have done nothing to show otherwise. So I will always bet against them. And I'm going to go Bournemouth 2-0.
Agreed. Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a draw, but it's just funny. I'm looking at the head-to-head history of it at the moment. When they first played in the Premier League against each other was the 2015-2016 season. Before that, they played one friendly at some point. That doesn't count. But before that, they played in League One in 2010 and 2011.
Hmm.
So that means they both got promoted to the Premier League without having to play each other, which is kind of a remarkable thing to see because usually if you both end up back up there from League One, it's one team gets promoted one year, one team gets promoted the next year. Maybe it was that they each got promoted and went straight up. At least one of them did. So who knows? But also goes to what you're saying of Southampton had some strength in that 2013, 14, 15 era where they did win matches and stayed up comfortably. So
Yeah, they were good. I mean, they had Van Dijk on their team. At one point, they had Sadio Mane, Dusan Tadic. Like, they had some Victor Wembanyama was part of that. Like, they had a solid group when Pochettino was their manager for a while.
yeah,
They were good, man.
they really
They were good. That was when I played Football Manager for the first time. That was my first ever club job. Southampton. Fun fact for you.
why did you pick Southampton of everybody?
I started unemployed.
Oh, okay.
I think I took a national team job, and then from there I went to Southampton in the Prem.
Did you win the Prem with Southampton though?
Hmm?
Did you win the Prem with Southampton? Did you lead them to glory?
I always do. Come on.
Good.
It's Football Manager. I always find a way.
Exactly. Treble, quadruple.
No, not that. But I
Hey,
think
that's
sometimes the Champions League.
yeah. Jackson, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this up?
I mean, I think we're pretty good footballing wise. Just gonna throw this out there because we talked about it pre-show. Fuck the Pac-12. That's all I gotta say. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we were also looking into, just to connect this back, and then I'll go back to what you're saying. We were looking to see if there's any news updates in the Man City court case about all their stuff. I'm still convinced that if they get thrown with the pines, or with fines and point deductions and all that, they'll leave for the Super League. Just like how all the Mountain West teams are leaving for the Pac-12. Mountain West teams in Gonzaga.
Snakes.
Long live the Pac-12, but I wish it wasn't this way at the risk of the Mountain West.
Oh, it's such a gross conference now. I'm sorry. And I love that UNLV and Air Force. Oh, I don't think Air Force was really seriously getting looked at by the Pac. They're more American, but I love that UNLV is not going. Hate UNLV, but love
Fresno State, Boise State, CS, Colorado State, San Diego State,
and Utah State.
Utah State.
Soon to be Gonzaga State.
Hey, I didn't know San Diego was a state. I didn't know Boise was a state. I didn't know Fresno was a state either.
Yeah.
I'm learning about new states every day.
Mm-hmm. And then one day Stanford State and Cal State maybe come back.
God, no. I would doubt that. Actually, no, maybe. Once they get sick of all the ACC money, and once the ACC disbands and becomes
That's how it happened.
SEC East and SEC West again.
Pretty soon we're all just going to be Big Ten schools.
Nah.
That and SEC.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to become I really like the shout of relegation and promotion in college football.
I think they should do their own thing, leave the rest of us alone.
Yeah, leave college sports, make college football its own entity.
Make it their. I mean, they don't have a NCAA championship anyway. Just go do your own thing.
Yeah, and you see your new school, St. Mary's, you're losing your biggest rival.
Yeah, Gonzaga State, dude. They're probably. I don't think it's official yet, is it? But
it is for at least basketball. I know.
It's official.
I'm pretty sure I read that it was official for basketball.
I've seen that they're still talking. Likely.
Oh, maybe they are then. But nonetheless, college sports are weird. Premier League is weird. Can never predict what's going to happen next. All I want to see is some news on this Man City case because it is interesting, and I want to see them get relegated to League One.
I still think we see a max 10 to 20 point deduction.
Oh yeah, I don't think they do anything drastic. It should be, in my opinion, like I said, it should be like a Rangers in the early 2000s,
Juventus.
Juventus, where you get sent down leagues.
Bordeaux, I think they just actually filed for bankruptcy. I don't
Oh
think
yeah, Bordeaux just folded, which is
Bordeaux's restarting from, I think, the 4th division in France. But City should have to do something similar, at least like the Italian clubs. I think Italy does a good job of this. They don't care who you are. If you mess up, they've shown historically they just send.
rules are rules. Don't break them.
Mhm.
But anyway, we had a little bit of our rant on that stuff. It's been a while. We haven't done one of our
We had to
cams
get it in.
in a while. So, and we were talking about stuff related to it earlier as well. But hey, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out on any of the It's Called Football shows, any of our other stuff on Vendetta Sports Media. NBA season's around the corner. We're doing a whole load of NBA previews, college football, college basketball, anything you need. Make sure you subscribe and check out the website, vendettasportsmedia.com. Jerry and Jackson, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.